deep down, everyone kind of knows what they want, you know. But like,
Of course,
no
I
one
mean
wants to like
you're
speak.
always aiming to making worlds and make it as far as possible at worlds and winning
I mean,
worlds,
yeah, of
right?
course. Every
Yeah,
single team you
that's
ask, what do you want to do? We want to win LEC and make worlds. And I'm like, okay, nice.
yeah.
But the question is, can you make it or not? And I feel like we can for sure.
Hi everybody, this is Tom reporting from the LEC offseason, and with me here is Odoamne, the new top laner of Rogue, who's looking fancy today with his headsets. How are you doing, man?
Great. Let me just wrap here my pink headset. Rogue,
yeah,
rogue cap.
you're looking fancy. Is that going to be the onstage look for the entire team now in
I
2021?
mean, if LEC wants to get this marvelous pink headset as the sponsor, then yeah, I feel like it would give the LEC a fresh new look.
Yeah. Maybe appeal to a different fan base as well, right? With those cat ears and stuff like this.
I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, not necessarily. Like for example, I'm like straight up alpha male, to
That's true,
say the
yeah.
least.
That's true.
And I'm
yeah.
repping the pink. So it's like it's all about insecurities, you know. If you're insecure, you
Yeah,
don't
it's
like
true.
pink.
Yeah. I
A
mean,
confident man can wear pink.
definitely, like some people wear pink legitimately. They rock it, right? Like, yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite shirts is pink. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm generally like I'm very pale, so pink doesn't really match with me. But
oh, I see.
yeah. But let's talk a bit about League of Legends now. First of all, you joined Rogue, which is a move that many consider to an improvement to the team with your veteranship in the top lane. How did you start talking with Rogue? When did you start talking with Rogue?
I mean, straight from the get-go, off-season this year in EU has been quite fast. Teams have been kind of like approaching even like guys who are like under contract, you know, obviously with like permission from all the parties and so on. Like I think all the way back in like October or end of September. So people didn't really like wait for a long time to start contacting players, try to set something up, like a deal up for the next season, because usually they wait until like free agency actually starts, or like the month of November to actually approach people and start talking. But they started moving really fast from like end of September, early October. So I've been kind of having on and off contact with Rogue, because I mean, obviously it's just kind of like what both parties see as their like first options and stuff. So it was kind of like from the beginning it was kind of just like keep in touch kind of thing. But that's kind of usually what happens with like all the teams, so it wasn't really like so much about like Rogue, it's just kind of like the normal thing that happened. So get in contact with most of the teams, and then as end of October approached, then that's kind of like when the domino piece starts falling and everyone needs to kind of like start making commitments, because everyone has like their first, second options, and yeah, once like one piece falls, everyone kind of like starts moving forward really fast,
Yeah,
and
it's this chain effect that starts going.
Yeah, and for example, how Alfari kind of like committed to going to TL quite early in the offseason. It was, I think, already like end of October when he committed to Team Liquid. And that's kind of like the first piece that kind of falls, because when he's kind of like maybe, let's say, the most sought after top laner, and then when he becomes unavailable, things become kind of more clear for everyone else involved. Like for example, say G2 wanted a new top, and then Alfari is not available anymore. Then it's kind of like, okay, we need to start kind of like pulling the trigger because things start moving.
Yeah, it all moves very quickly. Then
yeah, so like after that happened, things were kind of like set in motion with me, not only with like Rogue, kind of just like I needed to start making like commitments to like kind of like the other options I have. So then it kind of becomes like wouldn't really say like a bidding war in the sense, but it's kind of like teams start pressuring you more for like commitments. And like after the first domino piece fell, then Rogue started like talking to me a lot more, because yeah, I mean, they wanted to contend, and at least in my eyes, I was maybe, you know, one of the most sought after in for like my position, because yeah, I mean, there's no there's not a lot of like good veterans left, you know. I'm kind of like one of the last veterans still here, and yeah, and after that, we moved pretty quick, and we kind of just like reached an agreement.
Yeah, and were you just already thinking about leaving Schalke before the offseason even started? Were you looking for new challenges? Why did you choose to not sign again with Schalke or extend your contract? Or was it the decision made by them? Maybe, I don't know.
No, it was. I mean, the thing is, it was kind of like unclear. I always want to go for the most competitive offer in terms of like, you know, both like roster wise and like financially and stuff. And even though we kind of had like a miracle run, it was still kind of like a rough year, you know. But I was still kind of like willing to stay with Schalke if it was like the most interesting project or like the best project for me, like objectively. But even after like this year, like Tim, the the man in charge at like Schalke, kind of like my boss would say.
Yeah.
Tim
Reichert,
just straight up,
right? Yeah.
He just straight up told me that he wants to let me explore off season fully, and if I want to come back to Schalke, he can. I mean, I can, and he gave me permission all the way in like September that I can talk to teams, because he just wanted to have like the best, to get the best offer I could get, and if that offer is Schalke, then great. If not, then yeah, also great. Kind of sucks, but still great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess he was just really happy and grateful that we like managed to pull it around with like the miracle run, you know, and he just wanted to be like fair to me and not try to like, you know, jail me. So I'm really
like tie you up in a contract and force you to stay or something.
Not even that. It's just like my contract was gonna run out, but you know, if you like don't say, if things started moving in October and he just kind of like jailed me for like until my contract actually expires to let me talk to other teams, because that's kind of like the normal, that's kind of like the norm, then yeah, you would potentially miss out on like everyone, because everyone committed so early. And sorry. And yeah, he just wanted to be fair to me, because he was really appreciative of like what we did and what I did for like the club. And yeah, I mean, he would have wanted me to stay. I would have wanted to stay, but at the same time, I need to go to where is best for me and where is like where I have the highest chance of success, and that just happened to be somewhere else than Schalke.
Yeah,
it kind of sucks, because I don't know, after the miracle run, we kind of all had this like, you know, this bond between each other, because we were like in such a dark place and we managed to make it out. And I would have wanted to play with them, but at the same time, I'm not sure how much better we would have been, you know, if we could like consistently keep that form and be like top 2, top 3, or like whatever, you know. So it was kind of like time for me to find somewhere else to go. And for me, it was just kind of like this. I wanted to go to like maybe Fnatic or Rogue, and then it was kind of like stay with Schalke or like the other kind of like same bracket of teams, you know, same tier of teams.
Yeah.
And
well, it makes sense that from your competitive standpoint, right, you still want to win and you're looking for that upgrade in the end. But it's good to hear that from Schalke's perspective, they were at least so kind enough to let you explore these options earlier, and not indeed, like as you said, cage you or trap you. And like,
I mean, yeah, I mean, Tim has always been really fair. I mean, sometimes he's like harsh but fair, you know. It's kind of like in everyone's, like, he wants his best interest, you know. But at the same time, for example, if I make a commitment early to a different team, it's also good for their org, you know, because then
Yeah, they know that they
ahead
will
of
have to
time.
start looking. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And imagine they kept me until like November 20, not able, or like 16, whatever it was this year, to not be able to talk to teams.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm like, see you nerds, and then they're like, oh, we need to find someone else. But all these people committed like, all these people committed like 2 months before with other teams, and now we're just
Yeah.
forced to take someone random, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Basically,
like,
like left with the scraps, so to speak. You know, and that's
yeah, I mean, there's other teams that, for example, say instead of letting you explore, or instead of waiting until like 16 November, they just try to like bully you into like a contract. You know, they're like, oh, you need to do this or that,
Yeah.
or blah 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 blah. You know, so like, yeah, he could have had that approach. You know, I mean. I don't know if it would have worked because at some point in my career I got scammed like this just because of like inexperience, you know, it kind of
Yeah.
happens.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, not sure if it probably wouldn't have worked this time, but he just decided to be fair with me, and I always had like a good relationship with him. And I'm just grateful that he's been like a good boss,
Yeah.
and he took this approach with me, and he's always like been nice to me and let me kind of like look at after my best interests at the same time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have a good relationship with Schalke, even though I left the club.
Yeah, and that's definitely like that's always good to hear, right? That it ends on good terms in that sense. Now, talking more about Rogue specifically, so what do you see in Rogue that made them appeal so much to you? Like, what are your expectations in terms of joining the lineup?
I mean, from the get-go, they've been like an org that's been kind of battling for like top 3 for like 2 years now, I think. And for me, just the prospect of working with Inspired and Larson, who I at least inspired. I mean, I get to work more with Inspired, so that's kind of why I'm naming him first, not to like disregard anything from like Larson. But working with a jungler that's just so like talented, because in my opinion, he's like maybe, I don't know, best or second best jungler in EU. It's kind of like always like contention with Jankos, I would say.
That's high praise.
Yeah. At least that's how I feel. Actually,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
self-made as well, so it's kind of like him, self-made, and Jankos are always like battling it, you know, for who's the best. And the prospect of like working with someone that is like so like he's kind of like a rookie, but he's still like so talented, and he has so much like room for growth. And I don't know, it's kind of like really appealing to me to kind of go from like Schalke, who was like a good roster. Like, I don't want to take anything away from Schalke because I think everyone was good there. But it's kind of like, I feel like it's maybe a tier above now what I have at Rogue. It's kind of like stacked, you know. It's kind of like these guys have always been like top 3, and now I'm coming into this roster, and it's kind of like that one chance, you know, to kind of like elevate me back to that like winning position, you know. And I felt like I could find that with Rogue, mainly playing with like Inspired, Hans, and Larson, because I feel like they're all both like not both, all 3 of them are top 3 in their position. And at the beginning of my career, I always played like I always reference like the 2016 H2K year where I played with like Jankos, Forgiven, Vander, and Ryuen, and it was kind of like a time where all 5 of us were top 3 in our position, and like on paper we're like a team always to like contend. And after that year, my luck with teams kind of like drifted away, I guess, where I was kind of like stuck more on like middle of the pack teams that have like the potential to contend, you know, but it's not like a given, you know. Well, obviously nothing is a given, even with like this roster, with like how good everyone else is. It's not a given that, you know, we will be top 3. We still have to kind of like put in the effort and stuff. But it's kind of like the roster that can elevate me back to like a winning position where I can kind of showcase all the skills I have and everything I can do, and bring me back to being in like, you know, contention for like being top dog, at least in the top lane in EU. And it was kind of like a really interesting prospect for me because yeah, as I said, I didn't really have a team like that was like so, at least in my opinion, individually stacked, you know. It kind of just like reminds me of 2016 H2K where everyone was really good. So it was just really exciting for me, and it was kind of like what I was aiming for this off season, if it could happen, you know.
Yeah. Now, something that struck me with you being added to Rogue is that simultaneously Vander's obviously leaving, who was kind of that veteran on the team, and maybe like this mentor or in some sense, you know, as a voice.
Yeah.
And it struck me that you would be a good not necessarily replacement, but successor to that position. Is that something you think you are gonna do on the team? I mean, you've probably played with him a few times already now. How is that dynamic gonna be, you think?
Um, I mean, obviously, if necessary, I'll kind of like step into like this leadership or like even like coaching position
Mm-hmm.
in that regard. Just because like I know with like experience, it becomes like so much easier to lead and like all of these things. Just because it's kind of like second nature for me. Because I've been doing it for a while. You know, every single time there's like a rookie on the squad or something, I kind of just do it out of instinct, you know, just because I know that if I push him to be better or like if I make him better,
Mm-hmm.
then the team will be better, then I will be better, you know. So it's kind of like a thing I have to do. So um, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be come a time where like my experience would be able to like you know like help all like maybe in review or like even in game and stuff. But it's a position I'm like really comfortable with, and I think every team should have someone like a player that is kind of like more experienced or more like on the veteran role, just
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot easier to for like players to see eye to eye with like you know a fellow player than like when a coach tells them to do this thing, you know,
Right.
just because I can relate more with him on like a personal level, you know, because it's kind of like we're in the same game, same hardships, blah blah
Yep.
blah, all of this, like all of this shit. So so yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a time where I can step in and um, kind of like lend all my experience and leadership and everything for like the good of the team, just because yeah, as I said, if the team is if the individual players in the team are better, the team will be better, and subsequently I will be better as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't really just be lazy and be like, yeah, that's not my job. Coaches should do it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I will do it because I want to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, it like joining a new roster is also maybe a bit about managing expectations, right? Because the new dynamic has to get going, and you guys need to get in sync with each other. So, when do you think this roster will flourish? Will it already be in the spring split, towards the end of the spring split, or maybe in the summer split? How long do you think you guys will need to really live up to that full potential?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just kind of chilling in a way because I kind of, even though like I'm super experienced, I'm the new guy, you know. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like laying back and trying to fit in into like their dynamic, you know, because I don't want to like um, mm, mess it up, you know,
Yeah,
because they have
not
something going for
interrupt or
like
disturb what they've had.
yeah,
Or
because they
yeah,
have something going for like 2 years. So I'm just kind of like trying to fit in for now.
yeah.
Um, but I don't think it's gonna like take much for the roster to like to peak. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe we won't reach like our ceiling, but it's not like our floor is like really low. You know, so it's not like we need to wait until like I don't know end of spring, start of summer split to be like at a decent level. You know, I think just from the great get go we can be quite okay. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, there's not like a lot of scrims to like judge. You know, like maybe we don't adapt to the meta, or like the meta is not really like suiting every player individually. And then if it doesn't, then that's when we kind of start to have to get to work a lot more. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't say that. I think I mean, about managing expectations is just kind of like when you've been like 1 in 10 in the depths of hell in LEC, you can't really have this problem of managing expectations, you know, because my expectations back then were already like super low.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just always think about it like if you scrim well, if you practice well, and you have good scrim results and you have good habits, then you will win games. If not, then like you lost games just because you didn't practice well enough or like
Mm-hmm.
you didn't train the proper habits. So that's kind of like my way to manage expectations, you know, like I just focus on practice and kind of like the result comes. The result is the result is the result of your practice, you know. The like yeah. So that's kind of like the thing I focus on to manage my expectations. But obviously, I think we can. I mean, for sure, we make playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, if you say for sure you make playoffs and then you don't make playoffs, you look like a clown, you know. So
I will clip this in case that in case it doesn't happen. But
I mean, I don't know. I'm just focusing. I'm just enjoying the ride, you know, up until like the moment I like fit in with everyone, and then I don't know. I don't really want to think about, you know, what I want, like expectations. Oh, we need to make top 2 or whatever. That's just kind of like unnecessary pressure.
Yeah.
Because deep down, everyone kind of knows what they want, you know. But like,
of course,
no
I
one
mean,
wants to, like,
you're always aiming to making worlds and make it as far as possible at worlds and winning worlds.
I mean, yeah, of course. Every single team you ask, what do you want to do? We want to win LEC and make worlds. You know, like, okay, nice.
Yeah.
But the question is, can you make it or not? And I feel like we can for sure. It's just kind of like, do we practice well enough? And then, yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I guess in the LEC, the top 2 contenders will probably still like contenders with you. I'm not necessarily saying like number 1 and number 2.
Yeah, tread carefully.
Yeah. No, I don't want to make you angry now. No, but I mean, G2 and Fnatic are obviously still like on people's minds when it comes to the traditional like top 2 of the LEC.
Yes.
Mad Lions is in the top 4 as well. So with Rogue, do you think like you have a realistic chance of breaking into that LEC finals then? Because that is something, you know, we saw Rogue put up a very good fight against G2 in the summer split playoffs. You know, they went 3-2 in the end, and they got like on the brink of getting there. And now there's going to be new team dynamics in all of those teams as well, with Reckless in G2 and Upset and Niski in Fnatic. Like, how realistic is it for teams to now expect, or maybe like more specifically for Rogue, that they have a shot at breaking into that?
I mean, for me, once I saw that like this big shuffle happened between like G2 and Fnatic's like kind of like core went away, and they're kind of like remaking the team with like different players. I felt that it's kind of like our time to make, you know, top 2. Because yeah, I mean, G2 realistically, I mean, their ceiling went higher, but maybe their floor went a bit lower. Not because like Reckless is worse, you know, but they kind of like broke their system and they kind of took away a piece that was like core leadership of the team, with like, you know, a lot of strategy, knowledge, review, coaching, blah blah blah, all of this, because he was kind of like all in one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the dynamic of G2 changes. Maybe they don't find their footing. The dynamic of Fnatic changes. But for Fnatic, I'm a bit more concerned just because Fnatic over the years, they had a lot of like periods where they were really ending it. And
yes,
Reckless was kind of like the only core stable person that is kind of like bringing it back and winning them a lot of games, just because he was always like really putting up his best performance and stuff. And I feel like now taking that like safety net from them might hurt them, because if they start going on their inting marathon again, then who will save them, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like why I feel like now is the time for like Rogue to make it into like the top 2, you know, because there's just so much like uncertainty around, and I feel like even though Rogue changed 2 players, I feel like kind of like the core stayed the same, and there should be even like more stability in the roster now. So yeah, I feel like all in all, now's the time.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your time, for joining me today. I look forward to seeing what you guys are gonna pull off in the next split. It's gonna be
it's gonna be a fun year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year.
Yep.
Okay. All right then.
Even if we suck and we don't make playoffs, it's gonna be a fun year.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. See you, man.